You've arrived. You're here for the final installment of my series in which I let you decide, I let you be the judge on whether or not I am truly an ethnocentric American. I've shared with you all the foreign countries I've traveled to. This is the final installment in which I'm telling you about me traveling to New Zealand. But out of the 6 foreign countries I've traveled to, 4 of those times it was to serve others in the name of Christ, in the name of my religion, whether I was helping paint a building, lead some kind of camp for children, teach English to people, serve as an English teacher. It was convenient for my sake that I was able to speak English and teach English without having to really know much of the other language. But ultimately, I was serving others 4 out of the 6 times that I traveled to a foreign country. So the exception to that was when I was a boy, 30 years ago this summer, when I went to Canada on a family vacation, just by default, because my mother's from Buffalo, New York, and we crossed the border at Niagara Falls. The last time I would travel to a foreign country would have been the summer of 2007, 11 years ago. My wife and I visited New Zealand and loved it. We kind of did it like a road trip across the Northern Island there in New Zealand. Amazing country, loved it. And let's face it, it wasn't that much foreign from what I grew up around. It seemed very just much like a farmland mixed with some tropical locations there as well. But it was very much a small town feel. I loved New Zealand. Now, granted, they spoke English. The accent wasn't even that hard to understand. Culturally, they were very much similar to the values and identity that I have as an American. So there wasn't too much anything exotic about New Zealand to me. I love New Zealand. It's awesome. But if there was ever a foreign country that I simply went just for the tourist experience, it would have been that when I traveled there with my wife to New Zealand. So, but it's easy to feel that way when it's not really that foreign, almost like Canada. It really wasn't that foreign of an experience when you look at the comparable lack of diversity in culture, comparatively speaking, to the other foreign countries like Trinidad and Korea and Ecuador and Thailand, Korea, all those places I went to. Comparatively speaking, if there was one country, it would have been New Zealand, just for the full-on tourist experience. So, as I wrap up this series, final judgment on me. You know, the whole concept is, I felt inspired to do this series because people were saying overseas that I'm ethnocentric. If I say that I'm not, then what good is that? You know, that could be identity protective cognition for me to say, no, I'm not ethnocentric. That's why I made 6 videos telling about all the foreign countries and my motives in being there, and any challenges or lack of challenges in speaking languages. And let's face it, the commodity that I had was that people valued my presence to help me teach them my own language. So part of what inspired this series too is me basically saying, here in America, you can totally get away with just speaking one language. You don't have to learn a second language, like if you're in Europe and you travel 100 miles and now you're in a different country where it would help to speak another language. That's something that's an advantage we have, is that so many places we go to in the world, not only can we get away with speaking English, but often that is a commodity. And for so many of the foreign countries I went to, that's exactly ultimately why I was there. People wanted me to be there to teach them English. So is that ethnocentric of me? You know, if I'm ethnocentric, it means that I believe as an American, I have a higher value as a human being. But that's not at all how I feel. I do not, I've said it many times in my videos, I do not feel that as an American, that I'm worth any more as a human being than any other person from any other country. I do not believe that as an American. It just so happens that the fact that I can speak and teach English is a commodity. But it doesn't mean that I'm more valuable, or it doesn't mean that this English language is more important on a global scale. It just happens to be that I was born here and I happen to have a college degree in that. So based on all those things. But I think to be ethnocentric means that I think that I'm better than other people, and I don't. Hopefully, as I share these stories, most of the time I went to a foreign country, it was to serve others. Based on the commodity that I have English as my native tongue, right? But ultimately, to deny that would be ignorant, to deny that I'm ethnocentric. Ultimately, if anything, we're all ethnocentric to some degree. But I do not believe that as an American, I'm more important than any other person from any other nation. I do not believe that I'm more important because English is my native language. Don't believe that either. I just don't have this sense of superiority as an American. I don't feel that way. And I understand with our military occupying the entire world and being so strong and all that thing. I get it. But it's just, I'm telling you, as an individual American, I do not feel superior to other people on the planet. Hopefully what you've learned from this series is that I'm here to serve others. I'm here to teach others. And can you really be ethnocentric if you're there to serve other people? When you consider that out of the 6 times I've traveled to a foreign country, 4 of those times were to serve other people. All right, there you go. I've pleaded my case. You get to decide as the free market, having watched all 6 videos, am I truly an ethnocentric American? Final judgment in the comments right here.